Bitcoin, crypto, morning tea. Hey. Good morning, everybody. My name's pianomattyb. That is Scaramucci's. This is your morning TA. A brief glimpse into the crypto markets where the sun's shining, where the wind's blowing. All the humble opinion of this piano. Zamboni bringing the data. The FOMO index has inched up to 30 from yesterday's 28. Bitcoin dominance is 56.1%. 24-hour volume is 65 billion. The overall market cap, 2.14 trillion. Give or take 100 million. Well, it looks like we had what some legacy analysts used to call a little pump. Yesterday, after a quick bottom and a bounce off our channel of dissension support line, we spent the day in a low-key rally. Didn't really feel like a rally, but the price went up. Picking out just underneath our channel of eternal monotony's resistance level at 61K and has feathered down to a time of production. 60.9. So the good news is we've regained 60K, but the bad news is we haven't closed a higher high yet. And it's the humble opinion of this piano that we have to first close a candle above this resistance at or above 61.8. And second, for sure get back up and over the 200 moving average at 62.4. We've essentially spent all of August underneath the 200 moving average. But a pump is a pump, and I'll take her. Now overrun the ding-dong, you can see. We got rejected first by the spiteful arms of the 50 moving average, and have pouted back underneath our channel of eternal monotony support line, now acting as resistance, which is still in the loving arms of old Mr. Clean's right shoulder, this head and shoulders pattern, whose price probability plays out to 43K-ish. Ouch. What I'm looking for, if not today, then at least by Friday, is to close a daily candle at or above the 200 moving average around 63K. Closing candles up there would do two things. First, it would diminish and or invalidate the probabilities of this head and shoulders playing out, and it would change the robot quant bot algos from sell to buy, which would further pump the price and enter into this potential short squeezian area that could shoot us up to 66K. So keep your papers on 63K as the price that could pivot the market and start the next leg. Oh Lord, won't you take us home? Now, would you look at that, my friends? The sun's up. It's another beautiful day here on planet Earth. A day none of us are guaranteed. We're not guaranteed these days, yet we're lucky enough to have anyway, so get out there and knock 'em dead. And remember, we're playing the same game as our psychopathic elected leads. That's right, it's the long game. So zoom out and have a fantastic day. And we'll be going live right away, so grab yourself a coffee. Join me for a quick one, and by all means, sing it with me now. Are on the banks of Boomnashbang, Bitcoin, crypto, morning tea. Hey, oh, cha-cha-cha-ching. One of the more crazy things that always runs through my mind when I'm talking to your average gin pop normie. Most of the time, it's the boomers at the squash club because it's the only place I really go besides the Jimmy. Is that so? I want to say to them, let me get this straight. You watched the last bull run, you missed it. You watched it though, you missed it, and I guess you just tuned out. Now you're watching the next bull run and you're still going to miss it. You watched it already. You know what happens at this bull run. You watched it. You missed it. It's happening again. Are you going to miss it again? The answer is they are. They are going to miss it. What's going on with these comment things here? It's a little out of there. There. Now we can all sleep again. They seriously are going to miss it once again. I guess they don't care. You know, maybe it's not for that older generation until it needs to be for the older generation. That's what I think is going to happen. We're going to see a couple years of price appreciation, and then they're going to go back to their financial advisor and go, look at this piano Duke. I can straighten it out now. Duke pushes it and it gets all wacky and the geometry goes, that'll do. And they'll go, hey, what happened? Why didn't you put me into Bitcoin? It's up like 100%. And all my BS that you advised me to go in is up 8%. What gives? And they'll give you some lie about risk. And, well, you know, at your age, you should only be putting this much risk your money. You don't want to lose. That's all. And then they'll get like, well, listen to this. How about you convert this much into Bitcoin, and this will be where the bear market kicks in? Because this is what happens, especially to the newbies. They get in at the wrong time and they get out at the wrong time. So speaking of wrong times, right now is one of those wrong times where people would probably be getting out because they can't handle what's going on here with Rumble. They can't handle the price consolidation and how long it's taking. I see it. I feel it too. I feel it every day. It's like, what's going on here? Why does it take so long? This doesn't make sense. I thought this was a bull run. But if you go back into history, you realize that this is exactly how it plays out. These are exactly. The funny thing is that everything repeats, even emotions. So your emotions repeat every cycle. You have the same ups, you have the same downs. You don't understand why it's not going up. You don't understand why it's going down. You end up all asking all these questions. What's going on? I don't get it. Well, as much as all the TA can help us in the meantime, you know, lets us know where it might be going, because at the end of the day, technical analysis is just probabilities. My favorite comments on these videos are people that within an hour will say, it didn't go there. I don't know if you guys see those. It just reminds me that most people don't understand that it's just a game of probabilities. That's all it is. It can help us understand where it may be going based on where it's been. And they're all just probabilities. That is a bullish whistle, Sneaky Pete. Let's take a look at these bullish. And really nothing happened. We got pretty excited yesterday because there was a little bit of movement and we're up over 60K. Like, this is, I don't know, I'll take it, right? But if you really zoom out, we're just mincing words in a grinder of sorts, just going up and down past these two support lines. That's it. There's no big deal. But listen, it's better than it going that way. We don't want to be, where would this be? I mean, if we were to follow this
pattern, which we just recently broke out. Let's say we retested, some bad news comes in. So I think in Japan on Thursday, Japan might be having an announcement on their interest rates, which obviously turns out maybe more important than the U.S. dollar. So let's say it's bad news. Well, we could see a return. What is it? This support is way down at 55. Draw that in there. There we go. 55K. That is where this ugly, ugly support for this channel of descension that we broke out. We broke out, right? We'll never go back. Never say never. I always find it interesting when some of the other YouTubers are making "it'll never do this" claims, because that is a for sure fire way. That's like telling someone, like, if something's going to happen in your life, it's like, hey, get this, this might happen. It's almost a sure sign that it's not going to happen. You just kind of jinx it in my experience. Amy Lives Crypto, new YouTube channel. Go check her out. Give her a subscription if you already haven't. I DC every time it makes a significant dip. Otherwise, I just pick a day of the week and say, take my dirty fiat blood money already. Wick's wife, if I asked pianomattyb what to do with 50 USDC, he would say Bitcoin. You're right. I find if my experience in these cycles have proven anything, and I just had this conversation with playing squash the other day, because he was into this one guy was into a lot of alts. Some of them I've never even heard of. And I just said, and he was a younger guy. So I'm actually quite envious of these guys. So they're 30, right? In their 30s, early 30s. Like, think about this. This is going to blow your mind. They're in their early 30s. I know some of you are in your early 30s, but let's say majority of us are, older than that. Imagine they're in their 30s, and by the time they're 40, let's just say the guy's, for math's sake, he's 32. By the time he's 40, there's 2 more cycles. So really, he can just find some BS job that kills his burn rate and gives him some extra sugar to invest into Bitcoin. And then he's got 2 cycles. 2 cycles to just invest into Bitcoin. It's so crazy. I mean, we all have 2 cycles, don't we? However, imagine being 40 and investing for 2 cycles. Sneaky Payne with a super chat. He asks, favorite chord transition? Well, that would have to be... my favorite chord transition is, I think they're called minor diminished. So in order to get from a major to a minor, this is D major. That's minor. There is, I believe it's called a minor diminished, but it goes like this. So it's just like it just fills the gap between the 2 chords. You could easily go, but it sounds a lot better when you go. And now you might remember that transition from Friends in Old Places. Blame it on my roots, I showed up in boots. So it goes from A major to B minor, which I was in D, E minor, which is the same. It's just the math is up. So you take the 2 and you make it a 6. But living on my roots. It's a nice chord. And what I like about it is that you don't hear them anymore. It's like a throwback to, when people wrote deep songs. So Duke was asking me, we were listening to, what the hell song were we listening? It was, More Than a Feeling by Boston. Because so when we get into the car, and usually I'll turn on YouTube and try to, get some information from other creators, see what's going on there. And he's like, "Can we listen to some music, Dad? Come on." And I'm like, "Okay." And I just go, "Siri, play 70s classic rock." Because there's a funny thing that happens as a musician when the math to music because you enjoy it, but at the same time you don't enjoy it as much as say someone who doesn't understand the math. And it's not understanding the math to me is a certain degree of blessing because you can just really appreciate the music for whatever it is, for the magic that it is, right? But when you're a musician, you can't help but hear the 52 out of 100 likes Wick's wife, the math. And so I always find it interesting because as soon as I turn on the music, Duke will immediately go quiet. And I look in the rearview mirror and he's like, I can see him doing the math. And he asked the question, why is there no more music like this? And there's a bunch of reasons, but I asked him like, well, what do you mean music like what? He's like, well, these songs are long and they have long intros and they have long outros. And I'm not really sure what the chorus is. And it made me think, it's like, yeah, I wonder if we will ever see this again. And for a couple of reasons why I don't think we'll see it is that you have to be completely funded by yourself to produce this music because it will be expensive and no one's going to give you any money for it. So there's no record company investing in this type of music. Carl Elder with a super chat. He says, hit the likes, people. Hit it all day long. Hit the likes while you listen to this song. Oh, smokes. I'm an A minor, back to F, and then we turn around to G with the diminished, I don't know what that is, 9th or 11th, and then the deceptive chord, what makes you think and ponder and yearn for resolution. Whoa, wrong one. Thank you very much for the super chat, Carl Elder and Sneaky Pete Vaporizers. And so back to the why that music won't be created, because record companies won't put money into something that doesn't have like a hit or a chorus in 20 seconds. Because there's this. So for instance, I've been producing a buddy of mine, Grant, who if you've watched the piano stream, he fills in from now and then. He does the amazing Shaggy. He wants to do an original album. So I've been producing a couple of his songs, and he is getting a mix down in Nashville. And there's all these criteria, and it's no longer feel like it's no longer, oh, I like the way it sounds. It has to sound a certain way. It has to be run through a mastering program that brings the certain 1 to 2K up into industry standard. And I immediately think that's BS, right? But I mean, what do I know when it comes to music? So now they run the sound of songs to meet a mathematical frequency that aligns with the platforms, which I never really knew that that would ever happen, because I thought they would mix it to their ears, like they're sitting in their studio going, wow, this sounds amazing. I really love the richness of it. But how the evolution of mixing and mastering has happened is that they went from being pristine audio with the highs and lows, right? When I mean highs, and if you're an audiophile, or if you know an audiophile, you'll know that they will sit and listen to classic records, right? Because they were produced and mixed with your ear in mind, not the radio, right? The radio ear is different. Your ear in mind means you're sitting in your living room and you're listening to it on a record player, and they don't do that anymore. The evolution of it went from, well, this isn't loud enough, right? So there was an arms race of volume. How loud can we get our album so it's louder than then the next album. And so now what we have like, it's called limiters. And so a limiter will basically push the volume right up to the, where it's like, so we're red line, so to speak. It's called 0, but it's actually probably 10 is the right word for it. And now every song is just, it's called bricked. So they just make it a brick. And if it's not a brick, like let's say you have a subtle acoustic song that starts off just with acoustic guitar and it's very pretty and quiet, it can't be. It's got to be bricked right at the start, because if it comes in quiet, people go, next. So it has to come in. Even a subtle song has to come in bricked. Digital killed the analog star, says Sneaky Pete Vaporizers. Yes, it did. I do believe everybody, everything has a cycle, and we have to learn from, certain cycles. And I think this digital cycle, when it comes to music, will play out, and we'll have a regression back to old school music. And now this is going to my own bias, because we all think whatever we're doing is very special and can't be reproduced. However, day by day, year by year, we're always proven wrong that, yeah, we can be reproduced. But I really think that the subtlety and error and the limitations that artists have, singers have, piano players have, guitar players have, make the je ne sais quoi about why you like certain artists. You may like, say, what's a guy, Chris Stapleton, not because of his limitations, but his absolute unbelievable talent, right? So you like him for what he can do. For me, there's certain artists that I like, and I think subconsciously for what they can't do. They're maybe not the best singer, but they max out what they do with their voice. And I think we'll go back to that, wanting or yearning for the human element of live music. So I even noticed that, and it's lost to most now, because we've gone down this rabbit hole for so long that we think singing is a certain way. When I say singing is a certain way, you tune into a live something on YouTube. Oh, this is live, right? Or a live concert. I'm not talking about the piano stream, because it's very different than what I'll do the correlation in a second. I can hear it and immediately go, that's auto-tuned. So there's the technology now. You can put auto-tune on live singing, which means it'll always be corrected, and it can be augmented later in post. So the reason I bring this up is I saw this live country song by Post Malone. And now Post Malone is not a great singer, and I don't think he ever claimed to be. I think he's being pushed to sing, kind of like rappers that go when they have their melody. But he was doing a live song, and it was like a country tune, which I think is a good move for him. I mean, he could segue from whatever he was doing into country kind of seamlessly, and people would accept him, especially country. But I could tell instantly, well, that's auto-tuned. That's not even real. And to a certain degree, with AI, with auto-tune, we will start wanting to hear the limitations of humans, their ability to try to get somewhere and maybe not get it. Like that, to me, that's also exciting when I see someone who can't do something, or might not be able to do it, try for it and miss. Great, right? But I think the farther we get away from that, and so certain generations grew up never hearing live singing the way it was. So holy smokes, this is long-winded. Back in the 40s to 60s to 70s, that was, you had to sing, you had to be an unbelievable singer. If you were flat or you were pitchy, you're gone. You would never make it. You would be kicked out. And then when we got into the 80s and 90s, like when Nirvana came in, this is like a history lesson on music by pianomattyb. The 90s, the significance of Nirvana is that they made it the entry level. It seemed like anyone could get there now. So all the guitar players that had kind of a mediocre voice and wrote four power chords, and the truth, they said, well, I can do that, because Nirvana, it's not that crazy. Nirvana was crazy. His singing ability was insane, but he made it sound like anyone could do it. So then it opened the gate to musical mediocrity to a certain degree. Sneaky Pete, yeah. We're in music school today. And we saw the degradation of levels of talent. So instead of Back to Boston, More Than a Feeling, that singing in that is crazy. The production on the guitar solo is crazy. It was just that guy too. He did it all himself. Side note. So when we got into the 90s, we kind of lost the concept of being an amazing singer. You didn't have to. We forgave them because it was more about a feel or what they weren't doing again, right? Well, they weren't doing things that were amazing. They were doing things that were in their wheelhouse, and God damn it, that's all we can really hope for. But that lost to a certain degree, that brought in autotune. You see how all these evolutions, out of necessity, they had to bring in autotune because all the singers were gone. There's just every guy thought they could be a singer. And think about how close 1995 was to 1985, where you had these amazing 80s heavy metal singers that just went crazy with their range was unbelievable. They could scream. It was just blowing your mind. And then 1995, they were gone, except for like the Chris Cornells and Jeff Buckley and whatnot. They were still virtuoso singers. But because the virtuoso singer was kind of gone and we were ushering in this everyman type of singer, I was a plumber and now I'm in a grunge band. They had to bring in autotune because they were also giving awards for talent shows. So this is when all the talent shows started coming up. And these singers might be great karaoke singers, but when it came to doing something live for say like an hour, singing live in front of people, they couldn't do it. So they had to get the technology from Autotune Studio to Autotune Live. So now all these singers were singing live, and the people that missed. So for instance, my sister is 25. I have a younger sister who's 25. She didn't hear actual singers. She heard autotune singers from the day she was born. So it's just, hey, all singers are pretty amazing, right? Because they're autotune. They aren't. Anyway, the reason why it somehow comes back to the live piano bar, the biggest and the best, and Rumble and X and YouTube, is that if you've watched it, there's inconsistent singing. We're flat. Even though we sing for 2.5 hours, we don't have autotune, and that's what live singing is. You guys know we screw up all the time, and that limitation and the risk of screwing up is some of the fun of the piano bar. You never know if we're going to get there. There's certain notes that we sing sometimes, certain notes that we don't sing, just based on, how our voices are feeling. But there isn't any autotune. That was long-winded, to say the least, my friends. Thank you for humoring me on today's Tuesday version of Musical Education with pianomattyb.
Make sure you like and subscribe.